If you asked a random person to name the eeriest places on Earth, places synonymous with unexplained, X-Files-esque phenomena, the Bermuda Triangle and Area 51 would probably top the list. But, despite their infamy, they've got nothing on Skinwalker Ranch, a place so weird that it's flummoxed scientific experts and terrified even the most cynical onlookers. The massive ranch sprawls across over 500 acres of northern Utah in a region known as the Uintah Basin. The whole area has, since the days of early Spanish missionaries, swirled with rumors of strange happenings. Journalist George Knapp has stated that it is the site of simply unbelievable paranormal activity consisting of UFOs, Sasquatch, cattle mutilations, as well as psychic manifestations.
It's hard to find anybody in the Uintah Basin who doesn't have some kind of an experience with a UFO or Bigfoot or some other strange phenomena.
The epicenter of it all is Skinwalker Ranch, which first came to national attention in the mid-1990s when the Sherman family, who had purchased the ranch in 1994, shared their incredible stories with the media. One day, shortly after settling into their dream country homestead, Terry and Gwen Sherman were startled by the sight of a fearsome animal, perhaps a wolf or coyote, stalking towards their livestock pen. When it grabbed a calf in its jaws, Terry fired at it with a handgun and then a rifle. Despite being hit, the creature didn't seem hurt and simply wandered away into the bushes. Its foul stench, like rotting flesh, stayed with the Shermans. In the weeks and months that followed, visitors to the ranch reported seeing unidentifiable beasts moving in the woods and letting out roars. And then there were the lights, hovering and zipping about in the sky, including large orange circles and blue spheres that flew around, as if directed by unseen forces. Most disturbingly, animals on the ranch began to die in grotesque ways. Some of their dogs were seemingly incinerated in the night, while cows were found dismembered and caught out with the kind of surgical precision that ruled out attacks by coyotes.
It's been called the greatest unsolved crime spree in the country.
A newspaper article about the Shermans' terrifying experiences attracted the notice of an unlikely party, billionaire property magnate Robert Bigelow. As well as being a hard-headed businessman, he had a passion for space travel and the paranormal, founding the National Institute for Discovery Science, NIDS, which was effectively his own personal X-Files team. Fascinated by the history of the region, Bigelow bought the ranch.
That was my preliminary introduction to what's this whole valley about, what's going on here.
The team set up monitoring equipment, observation posts, and round-the-clock surveillance. The activity triggered conspiracy theories among UFO watchers, leading Bigelow to give an interview denying that he was in cahoots with the CIA or that he had prior contact with aliens in Utah.
I probably spent more as an individual than anybody else in the United States has ever spent on this subject.
What makes the story of Skinwalker Ranch so remarkable is that the curious phenomena carried on even when under intense scrutiny by NIDS. Researchers witnessed the same inexplicable lights which the Shermans had reported, yet their equipment would mysteriously malfunction at critical moments. There were even cases of electronic equipment being physically mangled and shredded, and wires ripped out. One NIDS consultant, retired Army intelligence officer John Alexander, later said in an interview that a precognitive sentient intelligence was at work on the ranch, somehow predicting what the NIDS team were going to do next, and scuppering their equipment accordingly.
The precognitive sentient phenomena, something else is in control.
The sheer number of incidents around Skinwalker Ranch, the number of different eyewitnesses, and the general reputation of this part of northeastern Utah has led many to take the case more seriously than other UFO hotspots. There's also the connection to Native American folklore to consider.
Skinwalker Ranch really derived its name from a curse.
The very name, Skinwalker Ranch, alludes to one of the most feared entities in Navajo culture and history. Skinwalkers are reputed to be malevolent witches who mastered the ability of changing into different creatures. The hulking, wolf-like beast confronted by the Shermans, which seemed to resemble the large, long-extinct dire wolf that used to prowl North America, as well as other creatures seen by NIDS observers, have been linked to legends of skinwalkers in the region. Intriguingly, there is a long-standing local legend linking the presence of skinwalkers to hostile relations between two Native American peoples, the Navajo and the Utes. In the words of historian Sondra Jones, author of Being and Becoming Ute, the Navajo were more aggressive people, and they had Ute slaves. And, according to the local legend, a territorial dispute led the Navajo to curse the land and unleash skinwalkers upon it. The historical basis for such legends are hazy. Betsy Chapoose, the Cultural Rights and Protection Director for the Ute tribe, acknowledged that various oral tales may have evolved over the generations, but emphasized that she personally had never heard of any Navajo curse being placed on the land. Biochemist Colm Kelleher, while working with NIDS, claimed to see a large humanoid creature spying on the research team from a tree.
From cattle mutilations to Bigfoot to UFOs, flying objects, and they all seem to be congregated on a 480-acre ranch in northeastern Utah.
While skinwalkers don't feature in Ute religion, there are still aspects of the ranch that make sense within the context of Ute lore. Other strange sightings have occurred directly next door, at Bottle Hollow, a 420-acre man-made reservoir on Ute land abutting the ranch, which was filled with fresh water in 1970 by federal government mandate. In 1998, a police officer saw a large light plunge into the reservoir and then re-emerge, flying off into the night sky. The appearance of the supernatural around Bottle Hollow makes sense with the context of Ute belief. According to Sondra Jones, springs and certain waterways were reservoirs of negative power, and there were evil spirits or evil sprites that would rise up out of the water and drag you in. Brandon Fugal is the chairman of Colliers International and the current owner of Skinwalker Ranch. From an early age, he has been fascinated with the mysteries of our universe and the question of whether or not we are alone. In 2016, Brandon purchased the ranch from Bigelow in order to investigate and study the strange and unexplained phenomena.
So what is the nature of what the hell?
According to Fugal, Bigelow's team approached him about buying the ranch, having met through a separate project. Fugal stated that he jumped at the chance to do business with the reclusive real estate tycoon and make the most unique real estate play of his career.
That there is truly unexplained phenomena on this property.
He kept the acquisition quiet for years, which was unusual for the man whose name is on seemingly every property in the state. The reason for this, according to Fugal, was that he did not want his ownership of this notorious ranch to distract from or compromise his professional endeavors. He even made the purchase through a shell company called Adamantium Real Estate, named after the indestructible alloy of Marvel fame used to forge Wolverine's claws. Even his wife at the time had no idea that he was the ranch's new owner, and he has categorically stated that he didn't want any fame and had no intention of monetizing his ownership of the ranch, as he was in it purely for discovery.
You know, we've been able to document high strangeness on this property going back nearly 100 years.
6 months into owning Skinwalker Ranch, Fugal claims to have spotted a UFO. A disc-like silver object 40 to 50 feet long, hovering in broad daylight over the mesa plateau that borders the ranch.
This was a solid object.
That same afternoon, others on the ranch claimed to have experienced electromagnetic anomalies, acute medical episodes, and cell phone batteries draining from 80 to 0 in a matter of minutes. And it was after that day, Fugal says he doubled down on his ranch investment, establishing systems to monitor and document events on the ranch.
And it has changed my perception. You know, I can't unsee that. I can't deny the reality of what I witnessed.
By 2018, 2 years after the purchase, Fugal's ranch managers were fielding calls from producers at the History Channel who wanted to film a show on the ranch. The channel executives pursued the idea until Fugal, finally, reluctantly agreed to meet, as long as they signed a confidentiality agreement. Fugal also had 3 stipulations about a documentary series filmed on the ranch. 1. Nothing could be faked, contrived, or fabricated in any way. He would have ownership of all footage and final approval of anything shown to the public. 2. They had to use his team as he did not want to have a Hollywood casting call or bring in people that would sensationalize the topic. 3. They could not reveal his identity. While the History Channel team agreed to the first 2 requests, they would not concede the third. They told Fugal that if he wanted the reality of his investigation to be believed and taken seriously, he had to be willing to go public. The show, The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, has already run for a number of seasons, with many experiments and strange happenings being recorded. And whatever the eventual explanation could be for what is the root cause of the paranormal phenomena remains to be seen.
That we're getting closer to answers here on Skinwalker Ranch.